Hello, my lovely patrons, and Happy New Year's. And this might be going on YouTube, as I think I'm going to share the first week of the videos on YouTube, and then the other 3 weeks will, of course, be Patreon only. But welcome to our very first video for our new online kind of Go class setup here. I haven't really thought of a great name for it yet, so if you guys have a name for it, I would love to hear some name ideas for a little Patreon classroom, basically. So, for a little support, we do have a little kitty. Here's hoping to a great Go month. You can do it. You can do it. Cute little kitty. Alright, so today's video is pretty much going to be an overview of what we're going to do. So the idea of this classroom is to help you form some good study habits, to give you some new information that you might not have been able to learn on your own, and to pretty much get you practicing in a way that will be efficient over long periods of time. So what that means is, hopefully with this information and this practice routine, you will improve more efficiently than if you had just played games on your own and tried to study on your own. That's the whole goal, is for me to help you improve more efficiently and just a little bit faster and with some sort of a direction and plan in mind. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So week one is going to be the opening. We are going to go over the Chinese opening this month. So week one is pretty much just going to be opening and Joseikis and stuff, and basic direction of play kind of stuff. We will be going over the Chinese opening for black and the Nihonsei for white. I picked this because Chinese opening is very simple to use, it has very good direction of play, and it works with the new metagame, and I think it's just really simple, but also not so basic that it's easy for everyone to counter and stuff. So I think it's the simplest, most powerful, simplest opening, if that makes sense. Anyway, so I thought this would be a great place to start. Next up, we have the Nihonsei. The reason I picked the Nihonsei as white is, one, it's very, very flexible. Now, the opening as white is a little bit different than black. You are being more responsive to your opponent's moves, and you will have to kind of change your opening just slightly depending on what you're playing against. However, there are some basic underlying moves that you can kind of keep in your head and just use them whenever you need them. So with white, we have to be a little bit more flexible, so it is going to be a little bit different than playing as black, so we'll need our own opening ideas. But I do not want you thinking that white is any harder than black, because just like with black, you can study the opening with white. This is something that you do have to make a conscious effort to do, but it is possible to do. So I want you to have a strong opening as black and a strong opening as white, and this will give us a very good start. Basically, our first 25 moves is going to be our week one. The reason I picked the Nihonsei is because star points are all the, or 3-3 invasions are kind of all the rage nowadays, and star points and influence are kind of growing in popularity, so I figured I would help you guys go ahead and tackle some new stuff, to the best of my ability, of course. Just basically how to tackle the new stuff at your level, so that way you can get to Dawn. And then from there you can get pro lessons and make it more exact and fine-tune it and everything else. However, my goal is to help you guys get to 1 Dawn, and I think these openings will be a great start to do that. So this will be the openings we're going over. The next few weeks I'm going to kind of tailor, because this is the first month that we are doing this, so it will be adjusted in the future as well to be more, I guess, fine-tuned to whoever's watching, or whoever the students are, what the students' level is. So right now, the plan for week 2 through 3 is to take the game one section at a time. So we're going to start with the opening in week 1, the early mid-game, the late mid-game, the early mid-game in week 2, the late mid-game in week 3, and end-game in week 4. And this may be adjusted depending on if people struggle or if people are not making it to the end-game. We're going to kind of adjust the last couple weeks depending on what the students show me. And if everyone's doing okay, then yeah, we'll just proceed according to plan. The idea is to help you guys play a good, solid game with this opening and get you some solid foundation to work with. So, we will be focusing on how to use influence this month and how to pretty much make good basic choices. So if you know me, then you know I'm a big fan of the Klossy approach. It's a step-by-step guide. We will be working on that to help you make good decisions for the entire game in order to make sure that you're making positive value moves. And for those of you who don't know what that means, in Go, it's very confusing and how you gain a lead, or what makes a good move, what makes a bad move, if you're not sure of how it works. Well, it's actually much simpler than you think. It's just a little bit tricky. So it's not actually about how many points you make. It's about how many points you make over your opponent, because Go is not a get as much as you can game. It's a get more than your opponent game. So it's an exchange rate game, not a maximum value game. And once you realize that, it actually becomes quite easy to determine if something's good or bad. You just look at the exchange rates. So we are going to be working on making sure that you are making positive value exchange rates and positive value moves that positively affect that score difference. And we'll be talking about that this month as well. So that is pretty much the overview. And yeah, if you do have questions, please, please, please ask them in the comments below the videos. I really want to help you guys as much as I can. You guys are my patrons. You're my pretty much super fans. I want to help you get to 1-dan, and I want to just help you guys improve as efficiently as possible, and let me do as much as I can for you guys, within reason, of course. But yeah, I do want to help you guys improve, and I'm really looking forward to this first month. So yeah, let me know if you have questions. I really want to know those questions. The last thing I do recommend is really take notes, guys. The notes are going to be so important. When you take a bunch of notes on your own, you can make your own step-by-step guide. So I have the Klossy approach. That's a pretty much step-by-step guide on how to play a good game, and that's notes that I've pretty much had from several different sources. I used to have a citation list. Unfortunately, I lost it, but basically it was a good half a dozen to a dozen people of different sources, professionals, amateurs, books, everything else, and they're just notes that I have, and I compiled it into a step-by-step guide. I really hope you guys can do that someday, and you can only do that if you start by taking notes now. Or if you're already taking notes, great, I'll just hopefully be able to add to them. And then once you organize those notes into a step-by-step approach, different scenarios, then you'll have your own approach to go. So, starting out, the first note I want you to make is how many games do you want to play this month? So, how many games are you going to play a week? I want you to be realistic, and I want you to understand that playing the games is probably going to be about half of it. You usually want to plan about how much time you want to put in to go this week, and then divide that by 2, and then figure out how many games you can play in that window. That's usually a good estimate. And once you do play those games and then do all your study habits, Go problems, books, whatever, and do all that, then if you have extra time, then you can play more games. That's perfectly fine. But I want you to set a minimum goal of what you want to do this month, and it's really important that you do this because you need to hold yourself accountable. Once you start making a conscious effort that I'm going to play this game to improve, then it does start becoming a little bit work. It does. I don't want you to not have fun with it, of course, but Go will take a little bit of work to improve and get to 1-dan, and that's what I want you to do. So I want you to write down right now, if you can, or after this video, how many games are you going to play this week, and then how many games, of course, are you going to play every week following, and then how many games do you expect to have at the end of the month. It doesn't have to be the same number every week. I just would like you guys to get some games. I recommend a minimum of 5 games, but of course, if you have lives, you have kids, that's perfectly fine. Just know that the more games you can play, the more you will get out of it. So the more hours you invest in the Go, the faster you'll improve. This is with any sport or any type of skill. However, do be realistic. Take into account your life. Take into account your own mental stamina. Take all of that into account and try to give yourself a realistic, achievable goal that you can meet every week. Next up, the second goal that I want you guys to make for yourself is Go problems. I know some people don't like Go problems. I myself personally really hate Go problems, but they are super, super important. They're super useful. And unlike games, they can't be spread out throughout they can't be just played at one part of the week and not the other part of the week. The games you can spread out throughout the week, and that's fine, or you can play them all in one day. and then study them for the rest of the week, and that's fine. But Go problems you have to do every single day, 7 days a week. Now, with that being said, you can take a single day to just pretty much do only a couple or none, and that's fine. So you can do like 6 days a week or whatever, but I highly recommend that you look at Go problems almost every single day, like 90% of your days. I think this is extremely important, even if it's only one Go problem every single day. If you can do a Go problem for 5 minutes, or do Go problems for like 5 minutes every single day, this is super, super useful for improving your eyes to recognize patterns, shapes, liberties, connections, cuts. It's really important for being able to visualize stones properly on the board when you're reading. So it will really, really give you a good foundation for improving your reading and pattern recognition in the future. It's a very, very great exercise, and even though I personally really hate doing Go problems, I cannot tell you how important it is. I cannot stress enough how important it is. So do Go problems every single day, or almost every single day, with only a maximum of 1 day where you're not doing Go problems, unless of course circumstances happen. Life circumstances always come first. If you're in a hospital, if you have a family emergency, if you have family coming over or something, and you're busy, that's perfectly fine. Work, family, friends, stuff, that's all more important. Your life is more important. However, if you're not doing anything, then try to do some Go problems every day if you want to improve a Go. I think it's very important. And so yeah, I do recommend putting a minimum of 5 minutes a day into Go problems. So go ahead and write how much time you want to spend, and just try to. You can either divide it up on how many Go problems you want to do or how much time you want to put into it, but try to multiply about 30 seconds per problem, and then see how many problems you can fit into that window. If you achieve that number, that's fine. If you achieve that hour, that's fine. It doesn't have to be exact. The idea is not really as exact as the Go games. It's just doing it every single day, which is important. So, Go problems, my recommendation is at least 100 Go problems a week. It sounds like a lot. But let me finish. Usually, I also recommend Go problems that only take you about 30 seconds. So find a Go problem set. If you need a Go problem set, ask me. I have several Go problem sets that I would love to share with you guys. Just ask me, and I would be happy to provide them for you. So yeah, Go problem sets. Do maybe 50 to 100 a week if you can. But usually you do Go problems that only take about 30 seconds to a minute to solve. The reason I recommend this is because Bioyomi periods are usually about 30 seconds. And an important situation comes up, and like a life and death in Bioyomi and endgame, it's very common for something important to come up in the second half of the game when you're Bioyomi. Well, you want to be able to read that in 30 seconds. So let's get in the habit with our Go problems to be able to read as much as we can in 30 seconds, and then maybe make a decision, 30 seconds to a minute. And the reason I say to a minute is because sometimes we'll sacrifice one Bioyomi period for a life and death problem, but you usually don't want to sacrifice 2 periods on one move. So sometimes it is okay to sacrifice Bioyomi period and give yourself that extra 30 seconds, and then you'll get 30 seconds to a minute to make a decision, and then just go with it. Now, I also recommend after that, if you get it wrong, go ahead and look at the answer. But what's important is that you revisit this problem in the future. I don't recommend revisiting the very next day because your brain's just going to immediately remember it. However, let's say you have a problem set of 100 or 200 problems. Well, okay, do that entire problem set, and then look at the answers for the ones you didn't, whenever you don't solve it, just look at the answer, and then do the entire problem set again. And my recommendation is for every problem set, do it 3 times. By 3 times, you should pretty much have all the patterns in your head down. What's important, the reason I like this approach is because 1, it teaches you to read within a Bioyomi period, and 2, if you don't know a pattern, it does teach you that pattern. And that's one of the things we really want to get from Go problems, isn't just how to solve this random pattern that you've never seen before, because that's almost unrealistic. It's not impossible, of course, but it can get very unrealistic. And what's more important is to teach you the shapes and patterns so that way you can recognize them very quickly, so that way if they come up in a game, you can notice them, because that will be more important than trying to come up and be clever in the game on your own. We're not Lee Sedol, we're amateur players. If we can make the game simpler on ourselves, we should do it. If we can just know the patterns, that's much better than trying to be clever enough to come up with a pattern on our own. So, Go problems, I do recommend about 100 a week. If you can, great. If you can do more, great. But if you can't and you can only do less, that's perfectly fine. Try to do a minimum of 5 minutes a day. And 5 minutes a day, 6 or 7 days a week, and I think that will be plenty for those who can only afford to do that. It does not have to be all in one session. It's perfectly fine to take a couple minutes here, a couple minutes there to do Go problems. I would try to keep track in some way, though. You can either write it down in a notebook how many you did, do a chunk of 10 here, chunk of 5 here or something, and then write down or keep a note of how many you did that day. Just because it's really nice to see your own progress, and it's also important that you're measuring your own progress. So sometimes, like if you, let's say you have a set of 100 problems in a book, and you do that whole book, and then you can write down how many you got right, how many you got wrong. You do it again, you do it a third time. By the third time, you want to have like 80-90% of the problems be able to solve those. And that would be good, and then you know you're done with it. But if you're only solving 50% of the problems on the third try, then maybe you're doing something wrong, maybe it's above your level. Basically, you should revisit it again. Don't just never look at it again. So measure your progress. Take take notes. But yeah, try to give yourself a goal to meet on a week-by-week basis. How many games are you going to play? How many Go problems are you going to do? And you can do it hours or number of Go problems. I personally do number of Go problems because it's just easier for me to keep track. Alright, so that is it, guys. That is the overview. I hopefully explained everything in a way that you understand. But yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. I really want to help you guys improve this month, and I want to take you guys as far as I can with the time I'm able to give you. So yeah, any questions, ask them, take notes, and yeah, hopefully you guys will find this month helpful, and let's try and rank up this month. Let's see if we can get 1 rank. Even if we can't get 1 rank, let's see if we can get most of the rank, most of the way there, and increase our win percentage. So, that is it for the overview, guys. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time.